So, welcome to this week's episode of I don't even know what we're calling it. Becoming Fearless. I'll call it Becoming Fearless today. But in this week's webinar, we're going to be talking with Molly. And you guys have all seen Molly in a video before. If you haven't, go check out her video. Lana can pop that in somewhere. It's an awesome video. She did amazing. And I know a lot of you really loved it. We're going to be talking specifically today, though, about getting out of your head, but even more so, being in flow state when you're on a date with a beautiful woman. Because the key here is that in communication, whether it's a date, whether it's sales, whether it's life, whether it's your friends, you should be in a flow state. And so many people teach you guys to think way too much. Think about this, listen to what she says here, cherry pick this. And what happens is you end up in your head. You end up analytically thinking, or you end up numbed out from overload. And then when you go out on a date, you can't relax and actually let her in. You can't feel her emotions, her emotional state. You can't relax with her. You can't enjoy her. And she can't feel you either because of it. And that's what dating is really about. And not just dating, hanging out with your best friend, being with family. It's about being able to surrender to what your heart's feeling, your stomach's feeling, your grounding, and letting that lead the show, which ultimately leads to flow state. And you guys know how much I believe that flow state should really be the bulk of your day, like whether it's work, whether it's a date, whether it's hanging out with the person you love and having just this moment of romantic time together where you're connected, flowing back and forth. That's what it's really about. And so I really wanted to have Molly in because of that last video we did that you guys all loved. There was a lot of flow between us in that video. And Molly also teaches a lot about feeling and embodiment, which is what leads to flow state, and a lot of her work in that area. So I wanted to bring her in to discuss that a little bit. And now that I've been talking for 5 minutes straight or so, welcome, Molly. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
Really good, really good. It's awesome to have you back. And unfortunately, we're in different states, so we can't be in the same room. But did you ever watch the video of us? That
I
one?
watched parts of it. I don't like hearing myself talk. But yeah, I like could see what I was like reading, or you had told me a little bit about what people had said about it, and I definitely could see it like from the outside.
Yeah, it's a beautiful video. There's a beautiful energy where we flowed together, and it was nice.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people got a lot out of that. Let me pop over to the chat. By the way, you guys, okay, you can, if you hit that chat button on your screen, you can see what everybody's saying there. And we got some people putting some ads in here, so we need to get those out, guys. Um, good, good. You guys can all hear me good. So welcome to the call, everybody. They tend to get going with the comments a lot, so you don't have to get too much into it. We'll get back to them later. But can you relate to this idea that I'm talking about? That dating, a really good date is actually going into a flow state with another person from feeling, where you're feeling each other.
Absolutely. I think a lot of the times, even like if I'm nervous going into a date and there's or meeting somebody and there's some sort of like immediate ability to be comfortable and just like really be yourself, and that there's room for that with like the conversation and being able to get to know somebody else, that is like an immediate like immediately I'm more attracted to that person.
Because
And
it
I
makes,
also
yeah, have you ever had that experience where it just feels like you've known somebody forever, you just met?
absolutely, yeah. And then, like time flies and you can't wait to see them again, and like you end up talking about things that you didn't even like plan on or think about, or you haven't thought about in years. Like it makes you feel like there is a special connection there.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. And how much, in your opinion, and because we were talking about this last week, and I talked about it specifically, and I went through the dynamics of it. I've talked about it in a few
Hmm.
videos recently, and there is a specific formula, guys, to enter into flow state, and it actually shuts off your brain. And they've shown in flow state that when your brain shuts off, that when you're in flow state with somebody else, or in an athletic sport, or with talking, you're actually thinking less. You're almost thinking very little at all, and things are just
Hmm.
up and out of you. And then all these hormones start to come out of you, like oxytocin
Mhm.
and vasopressin, which is what makes us feel so warm and connected and makes us feel alive. And there's a specific way to enter into this on a regular basis. And I'm not talking about these deep, crazy flow states that these athletes are doing. I'm talking about like sitting there doing your work during the day,
Mhm.
or sitting and having a bonding experience with another human being at night. And when you
Mhm.
hit these flow states, now, I was going to say Natalie, sorry about that. When I was talking to Natalie earlier about this, when you hit these flow states, Molly, how much thinking do you, when you look back, how much thinking goes on in your mind? Do you feel?
Um, Not like I'm not. I stopped thinking about. Well, I try anyway not to have expectations, but that's one thing that it like goes straight out the window. I would say like thinking about like any sort of like nervousness about how you look, how the other person looks, like if it's going well, if like everyone's in having a good time and stuff like that. I think I when it's really just paying attention to um, the other person and like how it's making you feel, it's like a great feeling.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I also wanted to add is it's something that I do in my own practice with turning the brain off is this sort of like overloading of information about sensations. So we do it like with our bodies, but to sort of keep your body moving with your brain, like imagining these fantasies and sensations and stuff so much that you can't stop to think about what you look like or if you're doing a good job or it's just about how it's making you feel and through that you like learn
can you go a little
more.
deeper into that? That's very interesting. So you're saying you're moving, you're feeling this fantasies, and then you're moving to the fantasy and expressing it out of your body.
Yeah, like if it's a, mostly I teach like an hour, hour and a half long class, and you never stop, you never sit down. I never stop talking. So it's this sort of like constant, like you go from like feeling water in your bones to floating on your favorite beach to, like it's just this constant, yeah, like so much information. Like obviously I'm not doing all of it. They're not doing all of it, but it helps just like switch off your brain while also being able to in the same way like activate this flow state within like
It seems to
embodying
me,
body.
it seems to me like one of the key ingredients to get into flow state is you got to a step in attention, but then you got to surrender to the tension itself and ultimately relax the tension enough so there's a perfect balance between the tension and the vulnerability. Then the
For sure.
vulnerability flows like a conduit.
Yeah.
And what you're describing there is you hit this, you start moving with these emotions and then you surrender and flow with them.
Hmm.
So you're stepping into the tension of the emotion and then surrendering into the flow of it going through your
Exactly.
body.
Exactly. And then ultimately like you care less about you have more fun. You don't care if you look stupid or if like the other person next to you looks better. Like you're just having a good time, which is why you went in the first place.
I think that is one of the major keys to attraction. Would you agree? Like when a woman and a man are out and they're insecure, they're nervous, but that all surrenders, and now they're experiencing freedom from outcome, witnessed by each other. Like,
Mm,
yeah, let me help you. I'll be more free, and then I'll help you to be more free, and vice
yeah,
versa.
absolutely.
I
And
saw.
I think as someone who like I can be sort of comfortable in uncomfortable situations, I it still is like such a huge like it like feels so good when that happens.
When you can just be a goof, you're saying? Yeah.
When it's like, oh, this person is also like totally fine. like I there's nothing I don't feel like I even have to do like extra work or talk more. Like it just like Yeah.
Okay,
Feel.
so let's go back to that. If there's a flow, there's a huge flow of emotion from me to you or you to me that
Hmm.
happens, right? And then you feel it through my body, or you feel it through your body. Like if I get sad, you might feel the sadness run, and you'll feel, oh, I can feel its
Hmm.
sadness, or vice versa. If I feel your passion, I might feel your passion about something, like you're talking about something you love, like movement. And when it hits my body, there's a like, wow, I really feel that, and that's kind of what bonds us. We're hitting those same emotions.
Hmm.
So the way you're describing it is like when this is where I think guys have a really hard time. And I don't know, you tell me with women, but they get really uncomfortable letting the women see them and experiencing them having those emotions because they
For
might judge them.
sure. Yeah,
And
absolutely. I think especially within like first impressions, there's this sort of like stigma that you have to go in and be like, I don't know, like whatever sort of this is who I am and my job and the animals I have. Like, and it's not like that's not people's personality. That's not their feelings, and like it's not so interesting. Like it feels like it's like a sales pitch rather than like getting to know somebody
here's
more.
perfect me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like I'm not trying to buy you. I'm trying to like get to know you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, and this is something I've said to guys too, that when you first go out on a date, a lot of times the person you get on the first date isn't an accurate interpretation of the person because they are so scared.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I think also like you don't really know what kind of day, like you don't know them, so by sort of putting up this like barrier already, it's like even another thing that gets in the way of getting closer.
Yeah. Super true. Have you ever been in communication with somebody where you could feel their emotions so much that you guys almost had a period where you didn't really talk? You just kind of felt each other?
I love when that happens. I think like yeah, being like comfortable in silence, or I mean, I know in your work you talk a lot about eye contact, and I think that like just to be able to sit with somebody and hold eye contact and not speak, and like you're just getting to know what it's like to be.
Yeah, we've had people do that. I haven't had this done in a while. We've had people stand on the other side of the room, backs against the walls, and
Mm-hmm.
they can have a conversation with each other through eye contact. Usually it's after they've learned to connect and feel. And
Mm-hmm.
we call it a conduit to let energy flow and see
Mm-hmm.
communicate without saying a word and get a sense of each other. And they'll start giggling and laughing, and all
Yeah.
great communication starts to happen.
Yeah.
And then there's another game we play. I don't know if you played it, where we sometimes have the clients, and I was making Landon do this, he's over here, do this with me the other day, because that when they get in their head, speak one word at a time and all this, and they can only say one word back and forth and have a conversation. And in the one word, you have to have subcommunication, inference, you have to have feeling, depth of feeling. Otherwise, nobody will be able to understand what the one word means. It's just
Mm.
across, and
Mhm.
it's so much fun to do. And and it really teaches people the power of less is more.
For sure, absolutely. It shows like confidence and comfortability and like also that it's somewhere you want to be, it's someone you want. I think that that's a huge thing for me is uh it's hard to tell sometimes like nervousness or sort of like holding back or not wanting to be judged versus like boldness and rudeness. Like
For
sometimes,
you personally, or for the guy? For you're saying for you?
for me, like when I meet somebody, it's like to like for coming off of them.
Uh,
Like it's especially when you don't know them at all, it can get hard to discern like what is like oh that like and what is just like oh this person is just like shy
yeah.
and and nervous. Like it can come off as not so nice sometimes when I know that it's probably a nice person, but it's not a good like first impression. I think that that's something that like I like notice a lot.
Yeah, it's important, and it's hard. It takes a while to start being able to understand that difference in people
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
experience. You literally have to experience it.
For
And
sure.
so, can you share with us, as a woman that's on here, because a lot of guys really don't understand the woman's perspective, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to know if you could educate them a little bit on what it's like to go out on a date with a guy that's in his head thinking too much, trying to figure out how to impress you, or listening and trying to find out just the right thing to say. Do you have any experiences like that you can share from your life that maybe they can relate to? No,
Mm-hmm.
it's like,
I think for me, I mean, as a just as a woman, but also me, I would like the person I'm dating to want to be with me. I guess anybody would. But when somebody is so much in their head, I really start to feel like I don't even have to be here. But like this person doesn't they don't hear a word I'm saying. Like what is the point? Or I don't really know what they're saying even because it's like word salad, you know, like what's the point? Like what is like we're both wasting our time doing this. And I think also, yeah, I mean, I've had some experiences where I'll be like, they'll say like, "Oh, what do you do for work?" And I start talking, and they're like, what do you want for dinner?" Like, there's this like there's nothing, or they'll go on to the next question that's like on the list, and what I could have said like, "I'm like a serial killer," and the next question would have been the same exact thing, you know. So I think that like I personally like I can't stand that. And I also think like that sort of thing about like nice guys always like lose or finish last or whatever. I think like in my experience, I'm more like attracted to, or I would rather spend more time with someone who is like mm, like sure of themselves.
sure of
Uh,
themselves. Okay,
yeah,
it goes in and
and
out a bit, so I have to sometimes repeat what you say. Okay.
no problem. Yeah, I think that sometimes like first impressions are like I stick to those so much sometimes that it ends up like that nice guys finish last. Like is sometimes true because it's like the like what are you waiting for kind of thing. I don't know
What do
if
you
that
mean by that? What do you mean? What are you waiting for? In what sense? I think I
like
missed.
if you're into somebody, like what are you waiting for to go talk to them, to reach out to them, to get to know them? That
That's the nice guy part you're talking about. Yeah. Yes.
yeah, which isn't like which like sometimes the not nice guys who are short themselves
Yeah.
like get the first whatever,
Well,
you
I've
know.
always said that the non-nice guy will tell a woman what she doesn't want to hear as much as he'll tell her what she wants to hear.
Mm,
This guy will try to tell her what she wants to hear only so he can get what he wants, right? But the
mm,
nice guy, he's not afraid to tell her no. He's not afraid to tell her he's mad at her. So when
mm-hmm.
he says, "I fucking like you," there's something about it. You're
Yeah.
beautiful, you're sexy, it means something. Whereas the
Right.
nice guy, it doesn't mean much. Yeah.
Yes. You just said it in much less words. Yeah.
I had a little practice translating to guy speak.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
And so, these dates that you go on with these guys, how often do you experience a date like this where it's just rough? I feel like there's more of it going on right now than there used to be.
That's a huge thing. I think like I have it's very easy for me to sort of navigate quickly. Well, like what I think eye contact is a huge thing for me. Like it, and then also the sort of like respect of talking to somebody. I think that sometimes the being too much in your head or too uncomfortable, like I said before, like can come off as aggressive. It can come off as like yeah, like disrespectful. And I think that I find that happens a lot of the sort of like what's your name, like, oh sorry, I'm talking to my friend, okay fine, like there's this sort of like that is
You're talking
like
about reaction, right? Like they get hurt.
reactive,
Yeah.
super react, yeah, that is like if you just like stayed for a second I would talk to you, but it's like whatever the expectation was didn't happen, and now suddenly like that to me is like an immediate I like turn around and walk away.
Is there,
uh
well, we were out, me and Landon were out here at the local bar over in Bozeman the other night, and there's a few really cool, nice little bars, but there's a bunch of college bars also
mhm,
with a million college kids, and this next shiny object, and all they're all freaking all over the place and bouncing. And when you go in
mhm,
there, it's very clear what's going on. The women are turning up their femininity and dancing and flowing, and they're being a huge energy, like a lure, and the guys are demonstrating their freedom from outcome. You know, how
mhm,
reactive am I to the moment? How reactive am I to you, or how proactive am I? And
mhm.
so see that the guys that are doing good with the girls aren't always the best looking guys. Sometimes they are, but they're typically the guys that can handle the most tension and stay proactive with it. They're loud, they're gregarious because the bar's loud. It's super
Yeah.
obnoxious. They're going around talking to everybody. If somebody gets mad at them, they're like, okay, whatever. They go over here.
Mhm,
Oh, you know, and they just flow.
mhm,
Women start watching them more and more. The more free from outcome with that flow they are, the more the women start noticing them and the eye contact starts to drift. And me and Landon are going to have probably a discussion about this on video at some point, what he saw, because I was showing him, because most of the guys that are really bad do is they sit against the wall and don't say anything and they don't know what to do, or they go say hi and they're asking for permission. And
mm,
the guys that get into flow and say, hey, clink glasses, joke, laugh, hey, how you guys doing? They just start talking to everybody and flowing, and they don't even hit on a girl per se. They just have fun.
mhm.
Start noticing them.
Yeah.
And that has to do with that sense of freedom from outcome you were just talking about. And they're entering into a flow state again.
Mhm. Yeah, I think too, like I have seen that in maybe like less I don't know what the right word is. Like outspoken, outgoing. Like there if you are, I mean, I was out the other night and there was just someone who I was like, "Oh, like whatever, I'll just go say something." And he was so comfortable with like being by himself and having someone loud come talk to him, and I think that kind of like you don't have to, if you're not that kind of person, that's still okay, but it's not being, yeah, it is, you can still be proactive with like the environment around you. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to adjust your environment. If
Mhm.
you're comfortable with a loud, obnoxious environment, go into
Mhm.
if you're comfortable
Mhm.
in, because your energy
Mhm.
will shrink. And when you shrink, you're not noticed anymore because you're
Mhm.
actually going into your head when you shrink and you're
Mhm.
coming into a flow state. You
I
brought up, go for it. I was going to ask
yeah,
you. You brought up a
I
question.
I see a lot out, and I also remember seeing it quite a bit in your workshop too, that the like being afraid of the outcome like super impacts the approach.
Yeah,
So if somebody was already scared to like say hi and all that like in the workshop that's all that they had to do, you even before they even open their mouth you're like "Ugh." Like there's some sort of like the floor is unsteady.
yeah.
uh, so it I feel like it even happens before, like while you're getting ready to go or before you even go, like it starts like way before.
Because they want something, and so they're not in flow state.
Right. Yeah, to I think, and you like girls are smart and can like clock that immediately. The sort of like, oh, this person is just trying to get laid. Like it's obvious. Yeah.
Well, the part of the attitude of a confident male is, yeah, I might walk up to you and say, in my mind, I might be like, well, you're damn sexy. I want to meet you because I would love to meet somebody to have sex with ultimately, but I still got to get to know you first and decide how much
Hmm.
I like you. I like what I see. Now let's talk for a
Hmm.
bit. And there's
Yeah,
this,
and also she still has to like say yes or no.
yeah,
Like,
well, it's both
yeah,
of it. Does she like me
yeah,
and do I like her? Is there a
yeah,
match? If there's not,
yeah,
let it go and go over here. I'll,
for sure, for
and that,
sure.
and I think that's true for women too. Ultimately,
Hmm.
women. Would you agree? Like, ultimately, women want to be chosen by a man that doesn't need them, and vice versa. And in
Hmm.
music, so many songs, I need you. You complete me. But in reality, in real life, the sexiest guy is the guy that says, I don't need you to make me happy. You just add to my life, and I'm
Hmm.
choosing you anyways. Whereas the guy that needs you, that's so codependent and so addicted, it's felt. It's like
Hmm. And
nothing
it's
about you.
yeah, and it puts a lot of tension on the actual like connection and relationship.
Yeah.
That yeah, and it's that I mean, the best and healthiest relationships that I see are the ones where they are so much their individual person, and this other individual person, it just makes their life like sweeter.
Yeah. I was thinking, do you know who Abraham Hicks is?
Mm-mm.
She teaches on law of attraction. She supposedly channels somebody and teaches, and her name is actually Esther, but they say Abraham's, but that's not what's important. She said once, you bring two miserable people together, you get something a whole lot worse than miserable. You bring two
Oh,
happy people together, you get something beautiful.
yeah, for sure.
And we were out on snowmobiles the other day up in Yellowstone, rolling around looking at the buffalo, and there was this little old man. Well, he wasn't that little; he was a pretty big guy, but he was 86, I think, rolling
Mm,
around on a snowmobile, and he was so full of life. This 86-year-old, and his wife was with him. He told me, he goes, "Yeah, we've been married 61 years," and he
mm,
goes, "She's the best thing that ever happened to me. I love her so much." And you could
mm,
see the confidence in both of them, and they're still out there on snowmobiles, rolling around this park, having a good old time.
mm-hmm. I
And
think that goes to show too that like I know you work a lot about dating, but it's also like, that person I would want to stop and talk to and get to know just as much as someone that I might like want to have a relationship with or want to
you
like have be intimate with. Like it's you can have really like full connections if like those moments can happen. Yeah.
What you just described there is super important because what we have our clients do when they go out to meet girls is not approach girls in the beginning to hit on,
Mm,
or not, and then we have them approach everybody.
mm-hmm.
We might have them do 100 stops and have 100 conversations, learning to connect, listen, talk to people, ground
Mm,
people out, have a good time, and not hit on anybody. And if something does play out because of that, that's
yeah.
great. But they're learning the basics of really good communication from that.
Mm-hmm.
I tell them that you're going to be surprised, but some of your best conversations are going to come from people that maybe you're not even attracted to. Like I
Mm-hmm.
approached this, it was a 90-some-year-old lady. Didn't approach, but I sat down with her at a table. She was eating. She was by herself, sitting in her wheelchair. And I thought to myself, why is this little old lady sitting here by herself? Looks like she couldn't even get herself here.
Mm-hmm.
For the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes, she told me the story of her living in, I think it was Vienna, and her passage here. And she was really quiet. She didn't have a big voice. So I had to lean in. And
Mm-hmm.
she started telling me this life story that was so full of beautiful information, and almost whispered it to me. And it was just this amazing connected moment. And that was many years ago. I've always remembered that conversation. And then she told me, I'm here every, I think it was Tuesday or Saturday, whatever. I got my hot dog, and please come back and talk to me. And so I got up, and then the woman that brought her there came over. She was in the bathroom, and she said, "Thank you for sitting down and talking to her, because she speaks so quiet. People don't listen to her, and they don't realize that she's still very coherent because they don't take time to stop." And it just touched my heart so much. And that's when you really start to learn. And this leads me to the next thing I wanted to ask you. is there's an art to listening too, right?
For sure. Yeah.
And I look at it as not just hearing their words, but feeling their emotions when they talk. What is the
Mhm.
art for? What's that art like for you as a woman?
I think that it's something that I had to practice a lot because of living in a foreign country where like you have to listen to, like, if you can't understand, you have to listen to everything else. Like the volume of how they're talking, how close, how far away they are, like what their whole body is doing. That and you start to like really actually do understand what people are saying. Like the environment where you are, what time it is, all like everything that is making up a moment. And I think that when someone is a good listener, I mean, that's like the like dream. Is like it's not only hearing what you're saying, but like to be able to have a relationship with someone who can sort of like understand you without you having to say everything that you might, because they've gotten to know you. I think for me, like that's what.
Would you say as a woman? But I'm listening to you say this, and would you say as a woman that that's probably one of the most important skill sets a man could have?
I think so, yes. And I think it's also one of the rarest skill sets to
And
find.
why is that? Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of it has to do with like screens. I think just in general, I don't think we're like listening to each other like as much. And I also think that there's a certain, especially when there is attraction involved, there's a certain amount of like teaching somehow
Say
to
that again.
say.
You got muffled there for a sec. There might.
Sorry, there's a certain amount of like teaching men to like not listen to women that happens in our society, that like even that kind of, I feel like, sort of becomes ingrained in dating culture and work culture. Um,
Where do you think that comes from? I'm curious.
mm,
That's an interesting statement. I want to dig into it a little bit.
I mean, I think like as somebody who is not, I'm not always taken seriously because of how I look or how I present myself or speak. Um, like there can be like a man who says the exact same thing as me who is then like listened to.
Mm.
Um, and so I think to what women crave, especially in their like most intimate, closest relationship, is somebody to like really listen to them and to not like, I think like listening and also and then like just saying like yeah, I agree to, like those are also two very different things. uh,
And is there an art to, like, there's an art, I think, to listening to somebody else without listening to. Some people tend to give a lot of fluff and they give a lot of superficial stuff, right? And so the art of listening to me, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong, is also being able to hear through that too. Because sometimes a person, when they're saying something, doesn't even know that they're saying something deeper. They don't hear it themselves, but the other person
mhm,
can pick up. Oh, that you got emotional when you said that. In their head, they're like, that's meant something to her, and she doesn't even
mhm,
realize it, or he doesn't
mhm,
even realize it.
for sure.
And to be able to catch that and say, hey, tell me more about that.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, I think that's, I don't know like how to unpack it, but I can give it as a good example
yeah,
of somebody who I'm very close to who like definitely listens and knows a lot about me, and in moments of sort of like tension or like reactive on either side, he starts to use like bring those things back and is like, well, you're only saying that because of XYZ that you told me about in the past. And it's like he listened then, but he's not listening now, kind of thing. I think that that's also the like actually listening to what the person is saying to you, like talking to you right now about in the moment in like the current experience. And it's not to say to ignore like whatever else background and history, but I think for me that's a huge thing is like not trying to sort of like calculate like why is she doing it and who is she, like the calculating thing I think is happens also when it's like way too much up here.
So what you're saying is that something somebody can say in one moment doesn't always ring true in the next moment analytically. It could be true for one moment and not true in the next moment. And if you really learn to surrender and flow with their feelings, I mean, ultimately, you don't have to fix everything. You can just let them have their feelings.
Mhm. For sure.
And then what's the difference between that and being in flow state and me hearing you and really appreciating you sharing with me and me, and this is really important for guys to get, and me being
Mhm.
a woman's dumping ground? Because there's just a fine line, right? Some guys will say, okay, I got to listen to everything she says. And then now she starts unloading and dumping on him every day and more, and he's not saying anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And this goes both ways too. I've seen the guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that it's like boundaries, like
Yeah.
and saying, you know, like I have those moments with even like close friends where it's like I do not have the space to like listen to you right now. Let me get back to you in 20 minutes. You
Mhm.
know, like knowing yourself enough to know when like I would rather have a partner or a friend say like give me give me five than to just yeah be this like numb sort of dumping ground.
Can you feel when somebody is speaking to you? And this is where the art of it, I think, comes from. Can you feel when somebody's speaking to you and one, they might have said something a week ago that doesn't make sense, and then you analytically talk about it. That's one thing.
Hmm.
The thing is they're speaking to you in the now, and in this now moment, you can feel their neediness pulling on you, or they're wanting some validation or wanting something from you, and they're trying to get, just like when a guy is hitting on you and he just wants sex, and you can feel that pull.
Hmm.
And that's very different when you hear that versus somebody sharing true vulnerability about something that, I'm going to give
Hmm.
you a story. I had a guy in a workshop once, and this was over 10 years ago. It was 2007, I think it was. Maybe it was 8. And he said to me, he was in the workshop and he was telling this story about painting in high school. And he talked about this line in the painting. He said, and there was this line, and he felt this vulnerable moment. And then he went on, started talking about something else. I was like, no, 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 no. Let's go back to this line. He goes, what do you mean? It's just a line in a painting. I said, no, talk about it. And he started to talk about it more, and he got really emotional. All these feelings started to come out of his body. And then by the end of the workshop, he realized he hadn't painted since high school, and he loved to paint. He says, why
Mm.
haven't I been painting? Why haven't I been painting? Well, I still know him today. He's a good friend of mine today, lives in Florida. He is now a professional painter with a big gallery. And if we hadn't stopped him as a group and said, no, tell us more about that line, I don't
Hmm.
know if he would be there yet.
Hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. Being able to hear that moment where somebody's being needy and they're doing it every day and saying, okay, let's call this out. That's neediness. Listen, you're doing this
Hmm.
every day. It's not serving you versus, oh my God, what did you just say right there? Tell me more about it.
Yeah, I think also it goes back to even what we were saying in the beginning about like unlocking parts of you you didn't even know and how special that is.
Mm.
Like in order to like be in order to listen, like it also involves questions and like questioning that the sort of like in between bits of the like main points. And I think when that happens with me, I think that's really special. I think like when a memory gets unlocked or
When the what? Say, you got muffled again.
Sorry. When the like a memory gets unlocked, or we start talking about something I haven't like thought about in weeks, like that is like, oh, this, like, not only is this person listening to me, but I'm also listening to them, and I want to, and I like care enough to too. And then, like, time passes really quickly, and it feels good. Yeah.
It's amazing, and you hit flow state, and hours can pass quickly, and it's kind of unfortunate because you're really enjoying it for a second. You're like, damn, the night's almost over. It
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah, totally. But I think that that's like, if you see someone or talk to someone a lot and you continue to want to see them and talk to them, and then you're 86 and you still think your partner is the best thing that ever happened to you, like, that's like a lot of listening for sure.
Well, I had this thing. It was an article I saw in People magazine coming back to that, and it was a couple that had been married 81 years. Married 81 years. He was 101 and she was 100. And I remembered this article. It really moved me at the time I read it, because I was like, they got married at a very young age. They had all these kids who had all these kids who had all these kids. So they had a million kids under them. I think they had 14 kids. And their kids who took care of them, or the grandkids, said they're still blissfully happy. He holds her hand and walks her around because she's blind now. They cuddle on the couch together. And I'm like, if you could do that for 81 freaking years, then anybody can do it. I mean, it's and most people haven't learned to love themselves first and haven't learned to feel, and that's why
Yeah.
they don't know how to feel.
Yeah. I think also, to go along with that, just like to give a woman's perspective, that I think is like sort of universally shared, is that it is like known that because of the internet, because of mm, like phones and technology and stuff, like anything is at your disposal. Sort of. So like, that is something that, like, when someone is being very present with you, like, you feel that that is no longer an issue. And like, when that continues, like, it's not something in the past. Like, I feel like I don't spend time worrying about it, or I'm not like, who are they following? What are they doing? Like, stuff like that, because I have a real connection with them.
Yeah.
And it causes a lot less problems, I think, as well. Yeah.
Should, yeah. That's the beautiful part.
Yeah.
So you, as a woman that teaches people to feel, helps to teach them. We have at Fearless. We have the flow state workshop, which is coming up. By the way, guys, we have it's the art of fearless seduction, which we gave it the wrong name. It should be the art of dating and flow, but it's all about entering into flow state on a date. It's a quick commercial. If you guys are interested in learning to enter into flow state on a date, definitely sign up for this. It's a big seminar. It's going to be online. There's going to be a small select group of people that get to watch it live. If you want to be one of those select group of people, then I would jump on it now, because it's most likely going to sell out. We're keeping the room very, very small this year. Last year, I think we had 80 people in the room live, and this year we're going to have a max 20. And so everybody in the room is most likely going to will get a lot of attention from the coaches, from me, from the models in the room as they work with you live, all the way down to well, there's just so much more. I think, let me see if I got all my notes here on it. Oh, don't. But there's so much that comes with it. It's ridiculous. Now, I don't do privates anymore. I like to do work with clients in small groups, and this is your opportunity to work with me at a super, super low rate. So if you're interested, definitely click on the link in the chat to find out more about that. Because to me, this is one of my favorite, if not my most favorite seminar we do all year long, because I love, love, love flow state. I've been cultivating flow state in work lately, and the day flies by on when I'm sitting in front of the computer, and just so much gets done so fast and so easily. And imagine being able to cultivate flow state with somebody you love, not just on a date, but somebody you're dating, somebody you love, on all your dates when you're 86 years old, so that you can have that kind of life. And that's what this workshop's about. And it's about all the stuff that creates that, all the chemicals that run through your body that keep you healthy and alive and active at that age, and how good it can feel in your body. It's just so good for you. And so if you want to learn more about that, definitely check it out. And by the way, um, our channel is about a lot more than dating. Our channel and our company, we teach dating as the entry point, but we have clients that come to us that are married that repair their marriages. We have clients that come to us that really want to fall in love. We have clients that come to us to build businesses, and I have a client that launched a cryptocurrency and is killing it right now. He worked on his relationship with his wife, and now he's building a huge online business, and he's just killing it right now. We have clients that come to us to lose weight, to do all kinds of stuff. We have workshops and seminars that have nothing to do with dating, and it's all about feeling, depth of feeling, communication with the world. And so if you want to learn more about that stuff, definitely talk with us too. And this is a great entry point because flow state can be used for everything. So that's all I wanted to say. There's a link somewhere in the chat. I don't know if we've dropped it in recently, but we can try. It's in there a little bit back. And so I wanted to ask you, Molly, as a woman that teaches feeling and teaches depth of feeling and flow in your body, what's the most important thing to you to enter into flow in communication or with a person? What advice anything you want to give? What advice do you want to give in this area?
I think for me, and it's also like the more I practice it, the easier it gets, the like quicker that I can. If I start to feel myself sort of like like fly away, like a balloon away from wherever I am, to be able to like calm my nervous system, breathe, like feel my feet on the floor, like whatever works for you in order to be like back to present place and able to I I like to think of I like my like flow state is like being as open and available as possible in movement wise and sort of in life too. I think like that's the thing that like if you are ready for anything, then you can also are capable of anything. And we do that a lot in our movement. So in order to be there, I think it's a lot about like turning up the volume on listening without sort of exacerbating your energy, your time. Um, yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. So how do you manage that? Like how do you manage that? Like you seem like the type of person that really loves to go with the flow. Have you ever read the book The Surrender Experiment?
No, I
It's
have
a
not.
great book. The guy basically surrendered to life. It's a great read for anybody that wants to check it out. But all he wanted to do was live on his little piece of property in Florida in the woods and meditate and do yoga. And that's like
Mhm,
his life. He didn't want to see people. He wanted nothing to do with people.
mhm,
But he told God that I'm going to release all my preferences, and anything that keeps coming up after I release my preferences, anything I'm asked to do over and over again, I'll just do it because that's what you want me to do. Well,
mhm,
life blew up. He ended up writing best-selling books. He ended up building a giant retreat center. He ended up rehabilitating all these prisoners. He ended up developing a giant software company worth billions and billions of dollars. And he looked back at the end of his life. He's on Oprah, and he goes, "I didn't want any of this. I just
yeah,
surrendered to the flow of life."
yeah.
When you look at a goal in your life, Molly, like you set a goal to have maybe an amazing relationship or to build a business, how do you
Mhm.
manage that with the flow of life pulling on you and with feeling? You're in feeling and you feel this pull over here. How do you manage that?
I think I'm like learning more and more how to because it can be like especially physically like as I get older the you can't really like
Mhm.
go to 100 all of the time. I know.
Yeah,
But
you got
it's
your cane over there somewhere, like on the back walker.
uh yeah, but the like sustaining myself at like the highest level I can where I am is more important than like going all the way and then burning out and then going all the way and burning out. And I think I've been like, in order to do that more and like be in flow state with while also having like goals, big goals, is like sort of recognizing when something is just hard and worth it, or when something is hard and hurting you. I think like finding
You just said a
like,
mouthful.
huh?
You just said a mouthful. That's really important what you just said, because it's the hardest thing for people to recognize. When something is going through the law of transmutation and growing you versus you, or you should turn away from it.
Absolutely. And it's confusing. And like the only way to, like, I fail at it all of the time on both sides. But I think like the more that I learn like what is important and like a lot of things are hard and take conflict and like fight and struggle, and that doesn't mean it is so hurtful that you shouldn't do it, but you also need to know that balance for sure.
He would say, Michael Singer, he would say that he would release all his preferences to everything, and then he would see what was left over. And if it felt like he was still supposed to do it,
Mm,
he would do it, and no matter how painful it was. And
mm,
that's how his life got so big.
mm,
He took, it was in a sense, he said, I'm going to take me out of the equation, and then whatever's left over, God wants me to do.
mm.
It's pretty,
Mm,
and it's still hard to recognize, is this God or my ego, telling me to do
for
it.
sure. I think for me also because I have such a strong tool and passion for how to express myself, that for a long time I felt like that was fulfilling enough, that when I like in everyday life and in like normal relationships, like I didn't give a fuck, anything can happen, like it's not important. And then I like got away from what I actually like. I didn't really know what I actually want or what I actually like
So
was
when
like.
you say this, you had this powerful sense of expression. Is this your dance?
Yeah, I mean, I think for a long time, until I sort of like slowed down for a little bit, I
Yeah.
was mm, I wouldn't say like reckless, but because I felt like I had such a easy way to find my flow state, that everything else was like didn't matter.
Uh,
Uh, and that was like a huge sort of like, not God, definitely ego kind of thing. Like it was just like and once like I started to like be stronger about what I wanted in all sort of parts of my life, like I started having healthier relationships and nicer people in my life, and like things were better.
Once set that intention, it won't grow, right? And
Yes,
people don't
absolutely.
realize that. Um, that's why I moved out here. Part of why I moved out here. I've been out here just, releasing, moving, exploring, feeling, and basically obliterating my ego as much as I can about,
Mm,
every day. So I try to get in 3 hours of really revealing and moving every day, and or more. And I'll tell you, man, when you make that choice that you want freedom more than you even want anything else in your life, like you're willing to give up everything to have freedom, to have imperturbability, boy, that shit starts flying.
yeah,
And the
for
pain starts coming up sometimes. All that deep buried stuff that you didn't remember because it's been gone so long says, okay, we got to burn this up now. You got to burn that up now.
sure.
And it just,
Yeah,
it
I heard it somewhere. I don't remember where, but it happened. It like it's definitely a trope that like peace is actually like incredibly painful. Like finding that. Oh, my acupuncturist told me that. Yeah, that like actually finding like peace within yourself is, it really hurts, but it's worth, like, it's a good.
It really hurts, and then once you're there, I think you stabilize if you can get there. But most people quit along the way. They say
Yeah,
happiness in the moment, like, oh, I'm happy right now. I don't need to do the work anymore, and then it comes back down, and they
sure,
and they go up and
sure.
down, down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lester Levinson, who I loved, said that. He said it. He says you got to make freedom and imperturbability your main goal, not happiness. Otherwise, you'll always stop. And
Yeah,
that
because like you can be happy 100 times a day. Yeah, I
you can
totally
be
agree with
doing
that.
something stupid that your ego likes, having a beer, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's just whatever it is. Watching kitten videos on Instagram. There you go.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Okay. Let's dive into a few questions. We got a good audience here. There's 73 people watching you right now, and so what I'm going to do is we're going to go through here. We got one here. I'll just to jump on your ego. Molly equals super cute. And somebody put a little happy face. I'll put that one on the screen for you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So, what good? You tracking any questions, Landon? What do you got for us? I don't even screen them anymore. I trust these guys to pop up good ones. Or should I just grab one? I'm looking. He's looking for one. Okay, I'll go dig through here. Okay, this one here. What is his cryptocurrency called? Dreams, I think. DREAMS. It's an NFT cryptocurrency based on role playing games. And there you go. That's an easy answer. Let's find it. You got another one, Landon? Yeah, Brian. No, pop it up here. Hit the button. There you go. Just hit show. There you go. It's coming. It's coming. Do you know how to do it? You just click right on the comment itself, and it says there's a show. See how it turns blue, and then you hit this button that says show. Right here. Boom. See? Put it right over there. Show. Click. I'll find another one. Technical difficulties, guys. Sorry about that. While Landon's figuring out how to pop up comments. Where's it? Do you have it on your screen? Yeah. Hold on, guys. Take this off. Go back to the phone screen. Yeah, the show button. You don't have to tap.
Brian,
There we go. We got it fixed. He's gonna figure it out. Yes. Dive in.
Brian,
Take up some.
somebody asked you if you've ever done psychedelics.
Oh my God, have I ever done psychedelics? Where's that one?
At the very top, I just looked.
There it is. It's on the screen. Do you know the answer to this one, Molly?
I do, yes.
Uh, I think the last time was about 2 weeks ago. I allegedly did about 6 grams of mushrooms. Um, and I don't do it very often. I do it once in a while as a way to bring up more to release and to process, and I have gotten amazing results from it. I think if you overdo anything like that, you don't have a great stable environment you do it in. I think it can be bad. But if you do it with the right intention, it's freaking awesome. And it can be very growth oriented. First time you do it, have a really good container, somebody that can watch you and observe you if you're going to do it. If you decide to do it, I don't recommend it. And do your research because there's many different ways. And I mainly only do DMT, anything DMT related. So do you want to jump in on that one, Molly?
No. I'm not incriminating myself on the internet.
Save that one for later. It's legal in places. I didn't say I can do it in an illegal place.
I know.
I think even one state in the United States has now made it legal too.
Yeah, I heard it like Oregon, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've done a lot of like work and stuff with PTSD, and I've heard amazing things that as like a regulated contained thing, that psychedelics can be absolutely like 180 for people with really horrible PTSD.
I've seen some people. I had a friend, he did it for the first time. His first day, he loved it. Second day, he went up in dose, and he grew up reading the Bible and was a pastor's son. And he goes, I understand the Bible. After he was done, he's like, I understand the Bible now. I talk to the Holy Spirit. Oh my God, I got to go reread the Bible. I got to reteach the Bible.
Mm,
Oh my God, I get what it's. I was misunderstanding it before. Now he has this whole new, complete understanding of it,
mm,
and I think it's great. It changed his life. He is a
for sure.
much happier, calmer person.
That's
So,
great. That's great.
yeah. And then ayahuasca, of course, that was amazing too. Okay, Brian, to stay out of your head is important. To stay out of our head is important. The flow state of the recharge energetically. I'm not sure what you're saying there. That sentence is a little broke up, so I'm going to reinterpret it. Brian, to stay out of your head, is it important to recharge energetically? That's what I think he's saying. How to feel the flow of the energy from the earth and the sky through our body is in sync with the breath. Okay, I'm going to let Molly take this one. Do you understand what he's asking?
Totally. I think that it's different for everybody, that it's finding what works for you. Um, but it's definitely about like shutting down your brain, shutting down your sort of like ties and like strings to that outside, what is not currently like happening. I think that that thing that I know is a huge thing in the cognitive therapy about the like five things you see, three things you're touching, one thing you're thinking. Like there's, I don't know exactly what it is, but so just sort of like paring down the world to exactly where you are, to almost like, I think listening to your own heartbeat is super helpful. To feel listening to your own breath. Um,
I'll put those two together. It's nice.
yeah, for sure. I think it's something that we do a lot in my practice is touching your own body, because we don't really like do that, but like getting to know even like the bones of your face and you know like giving yourself a foot massage, you know, things that like you can know like what makeup you are.
So
um
I get what you're saying, and I think this is super important. Is for you to recharge energetically, you have to let energy flow through you. And if you're not in touch with your body, you don't know your body, you're not
mhm,
surrendering your thinking, uh, energy is not going to flow through your body. And he's talking about from the
mhm,
sky and the earth. It's something I talk about. Um, those energies are not going to be able to run through you. It's like water through a hose, right? And
mhm.
is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's also, that's something we talk about a lot too, that every time you give, you have to keep at least a teeny tiny bit to recharge. Like obviously you'll always get stuff back and there's always like more coming, but you can like do a lot with very little that is your own. Um, but yeah, I do think that it is specific though. Like I think some things that work for some people don't work for me, or things, you know, like it's, but at the end of it, it's all sort of the same language, just like a different path, I
Do
think.
you ever play with any esoteric lingo in your movement expression, like chakras and meridians and things like that?
A little bit. I think I like to keep it like accessible to anyone who believes anything. But we talk a lot about engines and like like how like an old engine would be in a factory or something, that is just like a ball of light that you turn up or turn down. And we talk a lot about those engines in uh, like our stomach, our pelvis, our joints, that
I think that last part you muffled up.
like even like within like your
And then
can you hear me now?
I didn't hear the part after stomach. That was the part.
Like pelvis, like bottom of your pelvis, sacrum, Um,
So you are lining that up almost with the chakras. You're using you're using your own lingo. That's pretty interesting.
yeah, and I think because we're focused a lot on breaking like sort of normal movement patterns, it's also about moving those. So, like, how does the movement change when your engine is in your stomach versus in your chest? Which I know you do like very similar thing. Yeah,
You've never seen the movement work. I love my movement work, and I don't put it on camera much, but it's some of the favorite. It's my favorite workshop, and I just love doing it. And it's all about. It's not really about movement. It's about the energy getting all the kinks out, so the energy can free flow through the body. And it's about
for sure.
energy. And
Yeah.
so I try to get people. And this is an interesting question for you. Now I'm getting off topic a little bit, but not really. But when I have people move, I'm always emphasizing don't get distracted by the movement. Like if somebody can bend more than you, don't compete with them for bending. If somebody can move more than you, don't. It's not about that. It's
Mm,
about how much you can feel into that part of your body and what do you need. So you might need to go subtler than the other person. Do you
absolutely. I think, I mean, I teach sort of like two versions, one for dancers and one for whoever.
Mhm.
uh, and part of, especially like very highly trained dancers, part of like sometimes they're harder to break
Yeah.
than the just people who like want to wiggle because they're so mm,
Wiggle, I like that.
stuck. Yeah. The like,
Wannawiggle.com. Yeah. Great.
um, yeah, they're so worried about the movement itself that they're stuck everywhere else.
We would get that in our class with yoginis and yogis. You
Mhm.
come in
Yeah,
and
very
they
like,
could bend all the way down, grab their toes, have this perfect posture, and then my teacher would say, "Now go all the way back up and don't bend until you can feel." And
mhm,
every
mhm.
and they, yeah,
My teacher would make me do things over and over and over again and be like, "I don't believe you. Do it again." I'm like, "Okay." I don't know what I was doing differently, but do it again because basically to exhaust the like technique of it until you're like you have no thoughts, your body can't move, and then she's like, "Now I believe that you're tired." Yeah.
what accent was that you were doing? Just out of curiosity.
Israeli.
Yeah, they're the hardest working people. Yes, yeah. I agree.
For sure.
Okay, let's give us another question. What do you got? Okay, so okay, I can. You having trouble pulling it up? Yeah, you got to always have one ready to go. Here's one. Let me. I'm going to pop this one up while you look for another one. I haven't even read it, so we're just going to dive right into it. Are there any ideas you've changed your mind about when it comes to all the stuff you talked about on your channel? Um, well, over the years, it's gotten more refined and deeper. So yeah, I would say it'd be an interesting YouTube video, and I'll pull up. I want to pull up some of my older videos and critique myself, and
Mm,
talk about how in my head I was here, how disconnected I was there from many years ago, or and really use me as an example. I think that would be a lot of fun. So, but how about you, Molly? Is there anything from your past you really that would really struck you as wow? I really changed a lot on that.
yeah, I think like being I was very scared to like take up space for you know, like it was a lot about what other people thought to make sure that everything was how I was expecting it to be. And a lot of things got like stunted and I wasn't happy at all. And I didn't have a lot of like deep connections with people because it was all sort of
So is that
like
a fear of being seen, like being seen and
uh,
witnessed, or being reflected back to? Do you think?
yeah, I think it was a fear of being seen and a fear of even like getting to know myself. I think I didn't know exactly how to do that
Yeah.
with like where I was. And a lot of like the help that I can give now, or like the support that I can give now is because I first, yeah, learned how to like accept myself despite whatever, or just, or also accept changes that happen.
Say that last sentence again. It muffled again.
Like mm, despite what other people think, despite things you can't control, despite changes, like to really be able to sit with yourself and say like,
Yeah.
okay, this is me. What now? I think uh, that makes such a difference. Yeah.
It's an art form, to be honest with yourself. Like,
Mm.
yeah, we call it reporting the details and learning to report the details without dramatizing, analyzing. This is just my truth in the moment. May not be my truth in 10 seconds from now, but this is
Mhm.
what's, and it hurts sometimes. Yeah.
Mhm. For sure.
But it has such cathartic releases, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, I think that that's like something that I'm super drawn to too, is in other people, is that you're not really wasting a second. You
Mm.
know, like you don't, you're like, you really care about what is happening right now and who you're talking to, and like you're not thinking about what could be better, where you could, like, that to me is one of the most
So you're
important.
not in the future, you're in the now. Your
Yes.
cause, not a, you're not dealing in effect, you're dealing in cause.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, that's something I've been meditating on a lot, being cause, not effect.
Hmm.
Trying to fix the effect, not trying to change the, just be cause.
Mm-hmm.
That's and so how comfortable are you now? Like if somebody said, "Come on my big TV show and be seen, be big," like I want to interview you on Oprah or something, would you go for it?
I think so. I think like me, I'm a private person. So I don't really care about being in front of people. Like I'm a performer by nature. Um, and it's also part of my job to like I can't not believe in what I'm doing, because then it's a bad show. You
Yeah,
know, like and acting kind of. But I think I would do it as long as I was being portrayed as myself. I
yeah,
think that it's like when it gets into other people's hands is when
yeah. That's beautiful. Did you say you're an actor too, or did you say you're an actor too? I didn't know.
no, but it's, I think like a lot of performing is like acting. You know, like I've had in the past like, oh, you must like really like that guy. I'm like, oh, good. Like my performance was good because what that's what the audience like should believe, you know. Or like, yeah,
Yeah, you got to surrender to the flow of the moment, anyways.
for sure. For
Whenever I
sure.
public speak, I love public speaking. I don't know what I'm going to say half the time when I get up on
Hmm.
stage. I just flow, and I have a basic layout of stuff I'm going to say, and maybe it'll, and I'll keep glancing at that to make sure I cover the important topics. But they come up at in the order they're supposed to come up.
Yeah, for sure. We used to do this thing in a company I was with where, because we would perform the same thing so many times that it would get like not good, uninspired, where we would purposefully try to like fuck each other up, or like purposefully not do something right, just to like keep things exciting and
Yeah,
to keep like, and then suddenly everyone is like paying so much more attention and we're having so much fun. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
We used to do that in sales when I was back in sales many years ago. People would
Mm.
slip a sentence. You're sitting there pitching something, and this was in mortgage industry, and they would your buddy, one of the other sales guys, will slip a sentence you got to fit into your sales pitch randomly, and he'll just slide it,
Uh-huh.
and you'll get like, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna. I got to slip that one into a sales pitch. And I was like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there was once where I made a bet with someone that like whoever could fit 10 cartwheels in first, like we were gonna buy each other drinks or something. But it just like ends up like suddenly people are like, oh, wait, what's happening? Like I need to be here now. Like,
I love
mm.
stuff like that. Yeah, because you really learn to either surrender or you get in your head. One of the two is going to happen.
Mhm. Yeah. Happy accidents.
Yeah, happy accidents. Happy accidents. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay, give me one more, Landon. What do you got? How do you deal with your ego preventing from doing morning routines of meditations and movement? I used to be so dedicated to the work and I drifted away. How do you prevent your ego from stopping you from doing all the stuff you love? Is this Luis? This is Luis. Hey, Luis, what's up, buddy? Do you want to dive in? Do you have anything for this? Do you want to say?
Um,
You have a pretty
for
strong practice, right? You have
Yeah, I mean it changes for me. If I really am struggling, I I give myself 7 days and I say like I have to do this every day for 7 days, whether I want to or not. And like 100% of the time, by like the fourth or fifth day, I want to get up and do it because I feel better. So
a,
I for me, I like if I have to, if I'm like really drifted away from it, I just force myself, and then it is so good for you that very quickly you want to be doing it.
Yeah, I like that because it's short. You're not committing to 3 months, 6 months, a year. You're committing to 7 days. It's short,
Yeah.
so your body can do that. The other thing I often do is sometimes I say I want to be consistent more than I want to do length. So if I
For
can be
sure.
consistent and associate it with fun, then so what do I have to do? If it's 10 minutes and I can make it super fun for 10 minutes versus an hour, what do I have to do to get that nervous system to associate this with fun every day?
Mm.
And
Well,
then
and then sorry.
go ahead. No, that's it. That's it. And once I get that fun going, it starts to build naturally. It compounds. And then next
Mm.
thing, 30 minutes, then it's an hour. And boom.
Yeah, exactly. And also, you don't have that negative feeling or like judgment on yourself for not doing it. Like even if I do it like really shitty, I still did it. And the next day I know that and I can do it stronger, better, different.
And then you got law of polarity. I did it shitty today, so I know in the next few days, yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I think some days like in rehearsals that are the best are when you're like the most tired and you the most don't want to be there because we always talk about that you stop relying on your like usual tools and you start like picking things from places that you don't usually use and you find new places and new tools to use.
Like, yeah, yeah, you're forced to move in a new way, which is what keeps us young, keeps our mind connected. One of the things that Molly's doing is doing a lot of movement every day. And there's several aspects to movement that I think are so important. One is fitness, which is the obvious one. And the next is movement complexity, which is constantly moving in new ways, builds more neural pathways and makes you actually more intelligent, builds better mind, keeps your mind young, neuroplasticity. It's super important. So there's people out there that will just constantly take up new activities to keep their mind young instead of trying to do the same one every day. And then depth of feeling. If you go really subtle, you can explore deep, deep, deep hidden feelings in the body, and you can even do moving in new ways at a super subtle level, and that expands back out into expression into the physical world. And I think all three of these need to be performed.
I saw a comment about Tourette's, and I can speak on that a little bit with what I do. That I've worked with a lot of people with mixed abilities or who are really sick, who have very uh, like range of movement is very small, but that has absolutely nothing to do with the range of
We lost you again. Say that.
yeah, it, like range of movement and range of feeling are completely different. That I have people take my class who can't, who like from the outside you don't see anything, but it's like the neuro is still transferring to the body. That it it doesn't really matter like how much you're actually moving if you're activating
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, we see that too. Like if you've ever seen Mike, he's one of our coaches. He's had several strokes. The left side of his body doesn't work well, but he still does. His hip doesn't move very well as he does the hip rotations to get into his pelvis or pelvic movements forward and back, and it's really stuck pretty good. But he still does it mentally and plays with it, and he gets huge benefit from it. And I've seen it. I've seen it grow and his ability to feel
Mm-hmm.
now, just the mental aspect of it. And I had another guy who was cerebral palsy, and boy, that guy could feel. His body didn't work with other people, but he could feel. He was a manufacturer. He'd make money.
Yeah.
It was crazy watching him.
Yeah.
Such a powerful being. Okay, let's take two more quick questions, and then we'll call it a night because it's getting later. And but I wanted to give you guys a chance to really get to know Molly and enjoy the conversation. Do you have one ready, Landon? Is that it right there? Okay. What is a good way to create a stable environment you can surrender into? Let's hear it.
Go ahead.
Huh? You don't got
Go
anything?
ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
What is it? Well, first off, if you're, I believe that surrender happens on many levels. So the first thing I do is create a safe space. Like my place, when I filmed that video with you and Molly, you noticed that my space was my space. I created it that way so that nobody's going to interrupt it. It's perfectly safe. I can turn on just the right music, just the right lights, and I can really go into a deep, safe space to let go. And that's my environment. And then every day that I do that, I'm creating a deeper anchor to the body to go deeper into that space and to really to do the work I need to do. I also am a firm believer that once you get really good with that space, occasionally you want to take it to less safe spaces and learn to surrender, like to the park where there's people around, to the coffee shop, and do the work there too. And then if you get stirred up, go back to your safe space and clean it up, and then go back, so that you're not just doing it in a safe spot, but you're starting to do it in the world. Walking down the street, can I meditate and do the heart walks that we talk about and let everything in, or the vulnerability walks and let everything run through me, be witnessed by other people? And that's super important too. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would say like when I'm like feel safe and stable in my body and in my mind, like I know I can rely on myself, then it's a lot easier to surrender to whatever environment I'm in. I think like over the pandemic, I quarantined with my parents and I was working like over Zoom, and there was so much, like weird art, modern dance stuff that of
Where was this
practice.
again? Say that one more
I
time.
was at my parents' house, and they have to walk past, and they had to see all of this sort of like strange processing, creating movement stuff that usually is only seen by the dancers in the room. After that and being comfortable with that, I was like, oh, I can perform in front of anyone now. Like it was like once like that band-aid was ripped off, it was because it was probably the most uncomfortable space I could have done it in.
Yeah,
And
that's
but
huge.
it helped for sure. Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah, putting yourself in those uncomfortable spaces. And then my home is my sacred space I can retreat to, and I always have a safe space. But then you got to put yourself out there and surrender.
Mm-hmm.
The first
And
time
learn, yeah.
go
Sorry.
ahead. No,
No,
go.
but learn how to be like just as comfortable. I think like that's yeah.
Learning to be just as comfortable witnessed as in your private space. That's the ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm.
And
Totally.
that's powerful. And I actually get very comfortable, public speaking at this point. But the first time I ever public spoke was an accident. Well, in high school, I don't count that, but that was sheer terror, just giving a 2-minute speech, and heart pounding out of my chest and going, what the hell just happened to me? And then, but I remember somebody was giving a talk at a workshop I was at, and I was assisting. And he goes, there's like, I don't remember how many people in the room. It was a lot, all sitting there waiting for him to talk. And he hands me the mic in front of everybody. He says, Brian, entertain everybody. I need to go get ready. And he walked out of the room and left me with the mic. And I had never public spoke. Oh my God, was that a horrible experience? I was really hard. I was terrible. I was falling apart. I bombed. I was when he came in,
Yeah,
take the mic, but it lit a fire in me, and that's what kind
yeah,
of
for sure. I think I don't know. I like think about like kids and like very old people and how free they are from like outcome and because they don't there's none of that is like happening in their head. Yeah, I there's like a crazy my family like loves to like bring it up, but I was in some school play and I was like the main character, but I just like decided not to learn my lines. And so it went from like being a half-hour play to being 3 hours and me just making everything up. But I was so sure that it was like, well, this is what I'm doing. So like they let it go. They let it happen. And
hours.
like
Wow. It must have been. I mean, ultimately, either they're really nice people or it was amazing. One of the two.
I
I kind of
don't
want to see
know,
it.
like
You got it on video. I was like, I'm super
no,
curious.
thank God. But that's sort of like really it was just like I was fully committed to whatever was happening in my head that like you can do as a child. That I think accessing that as an adult is sometimes really important.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. It's just we lose it as an adult. We start to live in a framework of
Mm-hmm.
what we have to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We can't.
Yeah, and then I feel like as like I start to see it in older people who are like I've paid my price. I've lived my life. I don't give a fuck what you think. Like it sort of is that like full circle thing that I really enjoyed. Yeah,
Yeah, some of those old people are fun. Some of them can be a pain in the ass too.
absolutely. Yeah, but
Okay, give us one more. You got one? Here it comes. When you make or hold eye contact with a woman, how do you get past your thoughts or fears to be able to tell what kind of energy she's giving you? Interesting question. Who asked that? Okay. Do you have an answer for that? Anything?
uh, I think like pay attention to her.
Say that one more time. You can muffle a
Like
little.
pay attention to her and not.
If his mind's racing and he's thinking too much because why he's
Mhm.
holding contact, how does he calm those thoughts and so that he can start to feel her, let her in? Because the conduit's not going to work. That sense of letting her in
I
when he's
think the sort of like connecting back to self and calming nervous system and rooting yourself in present moment. Um, but I think a really helpful way to do that, I think I kind of remember maybe a book talking about it in your workshop of sort of like if you start to enjoy this moment, like you're looking at a beautiful woman, you're in a nice place, eating something good.
real quick. Let's get that mic fixed again. You're getting muffled again. So
I don't know why.
it goes there.
Uh,
So you start
like
to enjoy a beautiful woman. You're in that space.
yeah, so to sort of to enjoy it might sort of quiet those thoughts down too. Like what color are her eyes? What color is the napkin? What temperature is the room? Like bringing yourself straight back
Into the
to
now.
yeah.
And then start focusing on moving some of that thinking energy, like you said earlier, into the body, learning to feel the body, feel the space. Because the more you
Mhm,
turn on your five senses, the less you're going to think.
mhm.
The more you're going to feel. Power of Now is a good book for that. He teaches you how to really turn on those senses a lot and feel. Super, super important. Okay. I want to do one more, but I want to do a question specifically for Molly. What do we got? Hey, April, welcome back. Good to have you. Or good to have you. Let's. This one might be good. Do you have one for just specifically for Molly? Okay, let's pop it up. Okay. What do you look for in a foundation? What does that mean? Do you get it?
Like for your face or like
Yeah, that's the
for
first thing I thought.
building?
This is Mark, so I don't know if he's wearing foundation on his face. Yeah, what do you mean by that, Mark? I don't know if we can answer that question without knowing more about it. Uh, so, oh, well, hold on. This woman needs a holistic. He's talking cosmetics, I think. He's talking about cosmetics there, so I think he literally is. He
I do
wants to
know
sell
my
you a
foundation.
he wants to sell you a holistic line of cosmetics. So, well, there
I
you
don't wear foundation, so I cannot help you.
okay, Mark. So that's not a good question. We're gonna move
Sorry.
on from that one. But I like that you asked it. You put it out there.
I don't know what a holistic line of cosmetics is anyway.
Okay, here's the last question. Brian, to stay out of your head is important. The state of flow. We already asked this one. This is the first question we asked. We're done with that one. Here we go. Put that one up. That's for you, Molly.
Same. I say that all the time, every day.
Uh, okay, I think we're pretty much done. I'm just kind of glancing through them really quick. There's that question about Tourette's you asked. Just a chance one more time to get another one. Are there any? Oh, we already asked that one. I think we might have covered it. Okay, going to the bottom. There we go. Here's the last one for sure. Okay,
I
guys.
like Mark. That's so nice.
Mark's a good guy. I want to thank you for being here. I want to do a quick commercial really quick. Remind you guys that the Art of Fearless Seduction Summit is coming up in about 2 or 3 weeks. It's going to be awesome, and there are limited live seats, so definitely jump on that now. There's going to be a link in the chat. A lot of guys, I don't like to do privates, and a lot of guys have paid a lot of money to do privates with me, and I keep raising the price because I don't want actually anybody to buy them. I like to do small group work, and this is a chance for you to get in there and do work with me for really pennies on the dollar. And also with all the coaches, all the models, you'll be talking to them at lunch. You'll have a private evening of chat with me where you can ask me anything you want off camera. You'll also have private a chance to so private evening of chat with me. You also get to go to lunch with the coaches, talk to them. You get to work with the models in the room. There's so much extras you get. You actually get to go out in the field with the coaches where they teach you how to socialize and flow and teach you all the flow state stuff that we're talking about out in the field live. Last year, we had people come back with so many amazing experiences from that. They were just blown away by the way people reacted to them when they applied the principles of feeling to communication. So if you want the opportunity to experience this personally and directly in the room, definitely click on that link and check it out. If you want to do it online, you're going to miss out on a lot of that stuff, but you're more than welcome to have it online too. I think that's about it. Molly, do you want to say anything in closing, or do you want to tell them about anything about what you do or anything like that?
I am working on a sort of long-term art dance project, and part of it is online, and it will continue to be online. And I'm launching a Patreon next week. So if you're interested in that, it's called You and Me Are Lucky, and that's the handle on Instagram and on Patreon. And so you can.
Oh, you're breaking up again. Say it again. That's the what?
It's the handle on
Instagram.
Patreon and on Instagram. Yeah. So it's just You and Me Are Lucky. And there'll be some live events in Los Angeles, some videos, some classes online and in person. Yeah. So if you're interested in that.
So definitely check that out, everybody. Say it one more time. What's You and Me Are Lucky, Instagram and Patreon?
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. So I want to thank you for being on. It was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah,
And
good to see you.
that's great. It's great. Definitely check out our previous video too. If you haven't checked that out, guys, it's on the YouTube channel. We posted a link somewhere in there. Somebody wrote shrooms, and And so if you've got that link, pop it up again. So you can, it was a really good video where there was a lot of good information passed. So definitely check that out. If you're watching this on YouTube in the future, definitely like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff. Put a nice comment in there. We love your comments. We'd love to hear more about what you want more of, what you're interested in, all that type of stuff. And if you guys want Molly back, let us know, and we'll work on getting her back on the channel for some more videos and things like that. We always love having her. So, especially since she works so hard on feeling, I respect that. So, and I think that's it. There's the link. The link's in there now, guys. And so with that said, and don't hang up yet, Molly, because I'm just going to do a quick thing here after I close out. So with that said, guys, remember, only the confident really live. And what would you do if you were fearless? What would you do if you were fearless? What would you do today, tonight? What would you do tomorrow if you were fearless? You know, because I guarantee you, we're all holding back somewhere. Think about that for a little bit. Let that in. And it doesn't mean you have to go do it, but just be honest with yourself. Let's see what comes up for you. Okay. And that's it. Have a beautiful night, and we'll talk to you all later.